biohacking, performance, mastery, mindset, holistic health. This is a show about getting better every single day. I'm on a mission, guys, to help over 1 million people get healthy and lose weight. Why? Because when you lose weight and get healthy, you have higher self-esteem. You have more self-confidence. And that person goes out and crushes their goal and starts living the highest version of themselves, and then they have way more impact on the world. What's up, guys? Happy Monday. Happy to be back in the hot seat, if you will. I was gone for a week because I had food poisoning and it just threw off everything. But the cool thing was I learned a lot. It was the first time I've ever had food poisoning. So it actually taught me a lot about my body, and it also proved that my principles and my holistic practices work, because I rebounded within a day and a half and I was back to feeling quote unquote normal. Now I'm going to kind of take you through that journey over the next couple of weeks, and I'll probably explain some of the protocols that I'm going to be doing to actually get my body back. But today we're back to Mindset Monday, and I want to talk about a topic called, negativity and why it actually kills you, and actually by 38%. So there was an interesting study done back when they were looking at prisoners of war, and they noticed that in the Korean War, it was the most devastating for POWs. It was that they had a 38% attrition, where actually the mortality rate was 38%. It was the highest in all of U.S. history. And they wanted to know why, because there was really no physical abuse. And so they had this doctor, Dr. Meyer. He actually examined over thousands of soldiers in the Korean War, and they were curious because there weren't any like cruel camps by conventional standards, right? And they had adequate food, they had shelter, they had water. There was very few cases of physical abuse reported. And so why did so many people die then if that was the case? And what they also noticed is that no one actually tried to escape. And when they were even released, when the prisoners were released to Japan, to the Red Cross, they had that chance to finally call their loved ones and reach out and let them know that they were okay. And very few of them did. And upon returning home, all these soldiers you think that were in this camp, that were together in the Korean War, they didn't maintain friendships. They didn't have close relationships with each other. And what Dr. Meyer, what he observed was, he called it this new disease of hopelessness. And he said the soldiers even called it give up-itis. Now, doctors call this term Marasmus, which is like this lack of resistance or just passivity. And so just think about that, how often that you might be going through your life where you've just given up, or you have just this lack of love, or just lack of anything. You're just apathetic to it, right? You're just complete apathy to your relationship, to your business, to whatever. You've just given up. You're just moving through life in this passive way. And notice if that's coming up for you, because this is one of the worst things that can possibly happen to you. So if you notice it now, get in front of it. And if you think about it too, if someone were to hit you, right? And they were talking about this, if a soldier were to actually get smacked or beaten or hit in the face, you would have like this visceral anger, right? You would be motivated to do something, to fight back. And this anger is actually motivation to survive. And it's actually would be a really good thing, but in the absence of that, if there is no motivation, then guess what? People simply die. And it makes complete sense. I remember they did a study with rats, and they took away their motivation. They took away their dopamine. They prevented dopamine from being triggered. And guess what? The rats died within a week. So it just shows you how powerful that wanting, that motivation, that get up and go, that drive, if you crush that in somebody, if you take that away, then everything is pretty much broken. And so what the North Koreans did actually in this war is they denied men any emotional support that would come from their interpersonal relationships, and they use 4 primary tactics. Now, before I get into these tactics, just think about this too, because as I was reading this, I was thinking about, wow, look what happened with the pandemic, the lockdowns, the isolation, people not being able to talk to their families. Think about how those interpersonal relationships got crushed, and how that fed into people with what we saw. We saw depression. We saw not bolstered immune systems. We saw people just failing, right? We saw a huge depression spike. So here's the 4 tactics that were done to crush emotional support of the American soldiers. One they used was called informing. Number two was self-criticism. Three was breaking loyalty and leadership, as well as for their country and God. And then the other one was withholding all positive emotional support. So now I'm going to go into what each one means exactly. So informing means that they gave prisoners rewards for being snitches. And think about this also in the pandemic. How many times where, like, if someone wasn't wearing a mask or something, people were ratting on each other. They actually got power. They actually felt good. It was like they had they had an identity again. Like, oh, okay, I get to actually do this. Like, how many times did you have like security guards or like people that were just like picking up trash for a living, all of a sudden now felt empowered to like tell you to put your mask on and kick you out? I mean, it was just crazy. I just remember that. But what they did is, and now think about this also. When that happens, you degrade trust in your tribe, in your community. Now people are on hypervigilant states. They cannot trust each other. So that's huge. And so that's the first thing they did. The second one, let's talk about self-criticism. They actually would take a group of 10 to 12 soldiers and they would make them stand up in the group of themselves, of their peers, and they would make them confess all the bad things that they had done, as well as the good things that they could have done but failed to do so. Now, this is really important because it had nothing to do. You weren't confessing to the Koreans. The Koreans didn't even know you. They don't care. And that would have no emotional impact. But they actually did it to their peers and they made them confess to them. Now, that was the big thing, right? The third thing, breaking loyalty. So when we start snitching on each other and when you're in a POW camp, just imagine like you have people in higher ranks, like a colonel and a general, but now nobody matters. Your rank means nothing. And so what happened is there's an example of a colonel telling another soldier, hey, don't drink that water. You're going to get sick in the lake or the pond. And the soldier responds, he says, hey, buddy, he says, your rank, he says, you being a colonel, like means nothing right now. So you're just a lousy prisoner like me. So he goes off, he drinks the water, and then in 2 days, he's dead. So again, breaking loyalty. There's no loyalty to yourself, to God, to the country. And then the last one is withholding. So they would actually take soldiers and imagine like soldiers are getting letters and stuff. And what they would do is if there was any positive letters from a loved one, they would withhold it. But if it was a negative letter of like a relative passing or a wife saying that she's leaving him, she's going to get remarried, she doesn't think he's ever going to come back, they would deliver those right away. They would deliver the bad news. So all they would ever see, they would even deliver like overdue bills from collection agencies just to remind them how terrible their life was, right? And so what happened over time is in these camps, they lost the basic belief in themselves and there was any belief in that they were loved by themselves, by their families, by their tribes, by God and country. And so that is why the North Korean POW camps had a death rate, the highest of U.S. history, which was 38%. And so the whole point of this Mindset Motivation Monday is negativity kills. And I think we all knew that, but like now we're backing it up. But the interesting flip side on that is if negativity kills, then what does positivity do? Can you do the same thing by injecting positivity in your life? There's a phrase I really like, and it's if you look for the good keeps on giving, or the good keeps on growing. So think about that. Are you actively looking for the good? And if you've ever reached a moment of, just despair or hopelessness, right? Just know that that is the worst, one of the worst emotional feelings you can have other than shame or guilt, but hopelessness. And when you're feeling hopelessness, you lack resistance and you are passive. And if you are moving through passively in life, life's just taking you by the whims and it's just taking you wherever it wants to go. And so if you find yourself in that situation, cancel that, stop that, put a big red stop sign and get out of that state because you're going down a path that you don't want to go down to. You're going down the path that killed 38% of the American soldiers in the North Korean War. Okay, it is a devastating path and it will rock you. And so just understand that we have the power to quickly turn around just that negativity with positivity, doing the opposite. If the 4 steps were informing self-criticism, breaking loyalty, withholding positive emotional support, do the exact opposite. Instead of going out and looking to be a snitch, go out and look to do something good in someone's life, do something to empower somebody. If it's self-criticism, tell yourself an affirmation, tell yourself something great. If it's breaking loyalty and leadership and in your country and the ranks amongst you, look to be a good soldier, look to be a good employee today at work. If that's what you are, look for the good in a way you can serve your family, and you cannot break the ranks. Look how you can be a good person in that environment. And then withholding all positive and emotional support. Go out and, you know, um, relish in the positivity. Write down 3 things that you're grateful for. Look for the good. Look for ways that you can also instill gratitude in someone else's. Send a gratitude text. Send somebody, say, hey, I've been thinking about you, and I just want to send you some love, and I want to send you some abundance and joy, because people don't know it, and people need that emotional support. They're not even aware that you're around and that you're listening, that you're hearing them. So go out and do that. I think do the opposite of what crushed the North Korea, what crushed the American soldiers in the North Korean War, right? So that's the message today, guys. Negativity kills. We know that, but can you flip it? Can positivity be the opposite effect? So that's all I wanted to send today. And also, I'm thinking about creating a program, because I'm so, one of the things I think I'm known for is mindset and accountability and being consistent. And I'm thinking about creating a small membership program. It'd be a very small monthly fee, and where we, as a group, as a collective, we are doing this. We are joining in this work on positivity, mindset, and accountability. And we're all holding each other accountable. And I'm going to do live videos is kind of my plan, just like this. I'm going to do live videos, but it's going to be more catered to this community. And we'll do live Q&As, and we'll do things to hold ourselves accountable. So if you're interested in that, and you think like, hey, that's a great idea, shoot me a DM or comment on this thread here below, and let me know like that's something you'd be interested in, and I can get you the details. Or shoot me an email, info@joel11coaching, and say, hey, Joel, like that's a great idea. I'm totally interested in that. Let me know when that launches. So I'm thinking in the next month or so, but we got a lot of cool things in the pipeline. So let me know if that's something you're interested in. This week's going to be great with podcasts too. I've got Kristen Wetzel to talk about women's health and building muscle and staying toned and losing weight. And that's going to be great. So check out that episode. It's going to drop tomorrow. And then a whole bunch of other things. I'm going to be taking you guys through all my protocols that I use to overcome food poisoning. And I think so. Stay tuned to that, because I think a lot of people need that. And, they like to rush to get antibiotics. And I didn't do that. So anyways, guys, I hope this was helpful and empowering. Have an amazing Monday. Let's finish off September strong, right? Out.